poetry has been given a bad rap in our society to the whole human species detriment. Really, like poetry is thought, it's creativity, it's beauty, but it's not just thought, it's condensed thought. And we're losing our ability to critically think. Okay? Why is that? Like, I know some really smart people, okay, and they can't critically think. Okay, I could give you examples, but I don't want to give examples because I don't want to talk about politics at all. And the examples will have to be political because they have to be ones that everybody understands, right? But why? Like, I know somebody that teaches critical thinking and a wonderful guy, like nothing. And it's like he doesn't critically think. And why is this? He's smarter than me. I'm sure he's smarter than me. Okay, he teaches at a university. He's smarter than me. Okay, but he doesn't, and he teaches critical thinking. Like ironically, okay, he doesn't teach it ironically. It's ironic that he teaches critical thinking, but. My whole point, I'll get to my point here. I'm fighting a cold, so I might start coughing like a wild man. Okay, but just easy as soon as I say it. Okay, the reason why is because he's on the left side of the brain. That's it. Like I cut right to the chase. He's on the left side of the brain. People aren't reading poetry. Okay, and it stimulates the right side of the brain. Okay, so if people are only stimulating one side of the brain, then they don't. It's like the big picture is taken away from them, and they can only like take rabbit holes, and then it's like this is the rabbit hole you have to take. This is the official rabbit hole, and then that becomes their consciousness. And these people will say they don't believe in free will. Okay, well, of course you don't believe in free will because you're letting others control your consciousness, okay? But now, critical thinking, this is what I'm saying, is that poetry builds critical thinking. Why does it build critical thinking? Because it's hard to read poetry. Like, I read I'm not, okay, like full disclosure, I'm not some guy that took poetry courses and I have a degree in poetry, and no. I had an argument with my sister and brother-in-law, okay, that I don't know, they hated Bob Dylan, and I was saying, no, Bob Dylan's cool, and I'm not crazy about Bob Dylan, and I'm not like, listen to Bob every day. I'm just, but I like Bob Dylan, and I was just put into this weird position where I'm defending Bob Dylan, and when you look at Bob Dylan, you say, oh man, the guy's like really good at rhyming, and so I like I've always rhymed, but the way I write poetry is nursery rhymes. Like I love nursery rhymes. Like I really love them. I've studied nursery rhymes and old nursery rhymes from way back in the past, and I have a whole bunch of nursery rhyme stuff, and I love nursery rhymes. So I have this awful tradition inside of my mind. Okay, and there's raw creativity and there's fun, and it's kind of connected more to some, big R world rather than like the really beautiful poetry. I'll listen to YouTube stations and they're all like classy and intelligent, and they're talking about Percy Shelley's Osmondius. See, I can't even say the word Osmondius. I don't know. Anyway, it's a really good poem. It's an amazing poem. But there's this other poem that's like that says the same thing. And oh darn, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna press pause for a second, and I'm gonna get that poem, okay? And I have a point. I do have a point. Oh, I can't find it. I almost fell down the stairs. Trying to find it. But I was gonna read you the two poems. But I realized that's not a good idea anyway. I'll lose everybody if I start reading poetry. But I'll tell you about it. In this book, it's an anthology, I guess, like not just an anthology, but a school textbook, I guess. And they have Percy Shelley's Osmondius and Osmondiosis, and another poem. And they both say the same thing, like essentially. But the other one's the example of a bad poem. And Percy Shelley's one is the example of a masterpiece. And I like the bad poem and the masterpiece. So, like, I'm not saying one or two. Like, the bad poem, I wanted to read the bad poem, and it's really fun. And I write bad poetry. I don't write bad poetry. I write poetry that I think is really like creative. I'm going to read you the poetry that I wrote today. It's 5 lines. Like, don't leave. Okay, it's 5 lines, but I'm doing poems that are like by Yeats and by Blake and real poets, like really great poets, and they're so much better than me. But I still have the creative urge to write my own poetry. Okay. And here's my poem from today. It's not finished. I only have the first 5 lines, okay? So it's a work in progress. Punker Polonius was known for impoliteness. When passing pretty girls, that's not all that he would pass. Passing gas, to me, has such irresistible charm. I find a pretty girl, I'll take her by the arm, put my arms around her, and then burp into her face. Well, yeah, like that's where I am. I shouldn't say well, yeah, because I like my poem. I like it. But I know that everyone's gonna say, "Oh man, you're a goofball." And I'm not just a goofball, but like some goofy things come like out of my mind because I'm trying to have fun. You know, like I could be thinking what Yeats is thinking all the time, or what I don't know what other like tragic figure of the imagination is thinking all the time. But I like to like this is like people are gonna say you cringe moment, but like I like William Blake. He's like an artistic hero. Okay, one of the things about Blake was he wrote his poems. And he drew his picture. He was like a comic artist. Like really, he was like a comic book artist. Okay, and if Blake was around today, he'd be doing what I do. Everybody would be ignoring him just like me. And anyway, like my point is, Blake was always singing. I started doing this poetry thing, and I wasn't going to sing it, but it just wanted to be sung. Everything wants to be sung. And I kind of gravitate toward the more simple poetry. I don't like the stuff that's really hard. I have a hard time with Milton. Maybe I'll read him someday, but I have a hard time with him. I was reading Tennyson, and I never used to like. I found a Milton book, a whole Milton book, and a whole Byron book, and a whole Shelley book, and they were old. They were like from the 1930s, and I didn't take them, and they were really, really cheap at this secondhand place. Nobody wanted them, and I didn't buy them because they weren't rhyming, and I was like, "What? It's not rhyming," and so now I'm like, oh, it doesn't have to rhyme because I read Tennyson, stuff that it didn't rhyme, and I was reading it out loud, and my gosh, this guy's a magician. He's a wizard with words. Okay, and but kind of what I'm saying is it expands your mind. I wasn't thinking this. I wasn't thinking this at all before. I had this argument with my sister and my brother-in-law, and they were trashing Bob Dylan, and I'm just sticking up for Bob Dylan, and that's all. And then so I started thinking I could write some lyrics like his, because when you listen to his lyrics, I don't know about you, I don't know about everybody else, but it makes me want to like just come up with something because it's so goofy. Like, you know, I went inside, I saw a pen, and then I looked, and then I said, why, that looks red, and it must be because it's dead. You know, like he's doing that kind of thing sometimes. And so like, so I thought like, hey, I could maybe do that. It's kind of fun. And so and there's a real sense of fun to his rhymes. Like he's really a fun guy. Like a lot of people, I don't know, they think he's like depressing or something because he's kind of like, I saw him in concert where he was like, he seemed angry and he didn't like us. And then I saw him in concert another time and he was really happy because he was with Tom Petty and he was really happy. And so it's like, I think he's like a little shy or something like that. And anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter what, but I just say there's a joyfulness I get from it. And so I started rhyming, and at first I wasn't rhyming anything. I was doing like what I was just doing. Like it was like pretty, I don't want to say it's random because like if you're connected to your subconscious, it comes out and you don't know what you're writing until sometimes years later you look back at something and you say, oh my gosh, this is like, I thought I was just writing about, cars, talking cars, but anyway, I got a cough. I got to press stop. Cough. Okay. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is everybody should read poetry because they're losing the ability to read something critically with the right brain functioning somehow. And we're being tricked too. We're being tricked. Like with a poem, it's sometimes they have punchlines. My ones have punchlines. So no, I mean even this like fragment, like they wrote burping in the face. That's the punchline. And what they do with the news a lot is they'll have a headline, and then you read it, and it's still writing the headline, and then you get to the very bottom, and then they'll say the opposite of what the headline is. Like check it out. It's a lot. Okay, they do this all the time. Okay, and reading poetry is so hard. It's like a struggle, and we're like, oh, I don't want to read anything that's hard. Why not? I like listening to stuff that isn't politics. Everything is politics or information, or like, why can't I listen to someone like giving me I don't know, condensed thought? This isn't that cool? I don't know. Wait, why isn't it? Because poetry is thought. Well, my stuff is thought. Because it's like, what is thought? What is thought? Thought is visuals, words, feelings, abstract, ineffable qualities. And so if I could put all of those, and music and like sound and everything, if I could put all of those into a piece of art, like if you put all of that into a piece of art, then what you're doing is you're doing the best way of duplicating thought. And when you read my comics, say it's a poem or a poem. Let's not. I'm not turn it into my comics. When you read a poem, forget my comics. Like my comics are the same thing. It's the same thing, except for my comics are interpreting the poem for you. Okay, but it's also in the act of interpreting it. It makes it so you already know the poem right away. So you read the poem and you're like a person that has just read it a few times already. Okay. And you take off from my drawings too. Or you might disagree. You might say, hey, this guy doesn't understand the poem. And I'm doing something with a Byron poem too. I'm doing two different versions of it. A moral version and an evil version. Because poems are like that too. Like you could read a poem and have a complete opposite interpretation than somebody else. Okay. And the news is like that too. But the weird thing about poetry is people like, if I say, hey, do you like poetry? Like it's like saying, hey, do you like smelling flowers? Do you like frolicking in the fields? And people are just going to look at you funny, Yeah, is poetry feminine? I don't think it's feminine. Like if you look at the history of poetry, it's actually quite masculine. More masculine than prose. You could make an argument, but I don't want to get into that argument because I don't like, because let's get into a little bit. Poetry is about what happens. It's not about the character. And prose often is about the character. Like you're watching even movies, like, and often a movie, the plot is really, you're just watching a character and you're watching a personality reveal itself, But with poetry, that's not what it is. It's not about personalities. It's about life itself and all sorts of other things. And it's about things that aren't being addressed anywhere. Like once in a while you see a really, I just spilled a bunch of coffee all over me. Wait a minute. Okay, what I was saying was that like all the stuff in art and poetry aren't being addressed. And what we're doing is we're in this weird AI project of taking art and turning art into words. Okay, this is what's happening. We're taking like the left brain and right brain dichotomy. Art is from the right brain. And there's not much else in the right brain. It's like, well, the right brain can do everything, but it can do it like a big R way. And it can get really good at it too. Like my drawing power, like it's like it's comes from a lot of it comes from the left brain, but it doesn't. Like I don't know, the right brain can do. I'm not going to talk about that because I've just read a whole bunch, but it's like I'm not an expert. I don't want to pretend I'm an expert on that, but I just love the dichotomy because what we're doing is we're stealing dead people, dead right brain people's work, and we're letting the left brain logical network itemize all the visuals in words, okay, because it can't be anything else. Like that's the thing the AI doesn't understand is abstract thinking, okay? AI is going to fool all of you except for us right-brainers, and that's why a lot of right-brainers aren't thriving though, like in our current world, because our current world is very left brain. Okay, so if you're a right-brainer, it's just kind of harder certain things for you, and I'm not asking for pity. I hate it. Like I hate that. Okay, like I'm just saying it's like, and it's good that it's harder because it's like, say art was hard. Art, oh man, it took me a long time to learn how to draw, you know, to learn how to draw from the mind, okay, from your emotions, from your imagination. That's what you learn how to draw. That's why I hate the whole Disney artist look, you know? I mean, nice guys, I don't mean anything. I don't hate those Disney artists. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's a mental jail. If someone says, hair, draw like this. No, you should be drawing from your soul. And that's why when you look at older art, okay, you'll see, wow, everybody draws a little different, like their own special way. Yes, exactly. And when you look at new art now, everybody's kind of drawing the same, and everybody draws the face. Like you can look in comic books, and everybody draws the same face. Like it's really weird. You'll see these models, and it's like, oh, okay, well, they're from the textbooks that they learned to draw from, like, you know. And it's like you have to learn how to draw from someone's soul, and that's what. I have to tie this back to poetry because I'm like going off on a tangent, so I'm going to tie it back. That's why people should read poetry, because it's about the soul, okay? It's not about info. It's not about info. Everybody reads for info. Read for the process. That's the left brain way, is to read for info. And great, if you want like the whole world to be autistic. You know, everybody's like, why are we having all these autistic people being born? Why is everybody becoming? Well, everybody's becoming that way because all the jobs thrive on left brain activity. And if you're not good at the left brain activity, you don't get the good job, you know? Like, I mean, you can get the job, like the right brain people can be friendly and stuff like that, and we could do that kind of stuff. But like the really useful stuff is the left brainers, you know, right? And you know, like art and poetry is just sort of, I mean, sweep us under the rug at your detriment, okay? Let AI, and people have talked to me and like, oh, I'm so sad for you that like art, like, you know, now it's being done by a machine. Too bad, you know, like it's not. I don't mean that they're flippant like that. They're like jerks. I mean, like, oh, that's so sad. I have to make them like jerks. They're not. It's like, oh, but like the thing is that they're sad for me. I'm sad for them because I have this consciousness. You need this consciousness. It sounds crazy. You need what I have. I'm not saying that. I have poetry. I don't own poetry. That's what I'm saying. You can all have poetry. I mean, get the poetry, and what you do is you could read 10 lines, and those 10 lines can take you all night, and you're thinking. Okay, and that's why I say critical thinking, okay? Because you're thinking, and people read things nowadays, and they don't go, okay, here's 10 lines that I'm going to think about all night. Like I've taken up bringing a poetry book with me to walk with the dog. And I was in this bad trap where I was listening to podcasts. And I mean, here I am, like, talking like as if I'm I guess, is this a podcast? I don't know. I guess, but like, and I don't mean to like say, oh, you listening to podcasts, but I was like, I found I was detaching myself from the world because I was listening to something that was in another land. And the land, I mean, I don't want to explain it. It's like, I feel better reading a book of poetry with me, and I'll just have these 10 lines and I'll be walking, and then sometimes I'll be off in a field with my dog and I'll just like say the poem out loud and, and sing it, stuff like that. It sounds silly, but it isn't. It's real life, and I like it. And people need to do this. People need to take 10 lines of the news and say, I'm going to think about that. And some poems you don't even get unless you go search what does he mean by this? And you have to, like, sometimes you really have to check out references. Sometimes you have to imagine it all sorts of different ways, and you'll say, does it really mean this? And you'll realize, oh boy, I had it the opposite way at first, and now I realize that it's the opposite. And sometimes you'll see something too that nobody else sees. Weirdly, like, I don't know. Like my Keats one, like everybody sees, like, not everybody, I guess they haven't read the Bible, and so they don't know that. One guy said, like, the second coming, like, already happened. And yeah, it's so a lot of times, like, you have to know the Bible for a lot of poetry, because we're we were a Christian society, and a lot of the writers were either referenced from the Bible or Greek myths and stuff like that. Like, really, like, let's all read this stuff. It's so wonderful. I'm reading it all right now, and it's a struggle, and that's the cool thing. It's like, it's why should reading be not a struggle, and it's more fun. I don't know. I don't want to, like, I still read prose, but I the whole idea that, a lot of people I hear, like, oh, check out your brain and watch the movie, and I just want a movie that just, everybody's turning into feelies. It's feelies. Aldous Huxley and A Brave New World. Okay, people. There was no art. Like, someone in the book, he had a nervous breakdown because he was exposed to poetry, and because that's it. We have a world like Aldous Huxley's without poetry now, and art is just abstract and feely, and movies are like amusement rides. That's Aldous Huxley's world. They called movies feelies. And stories are what really, like, capture your imagination. So if they could dull in stories, like, we're not there yet, we still have stories, but I mean, if people are losing our poetic mind, our artistic mind, that's what's going to happen. We're losing our right side of our mind. We're losing it. Okay, we're losing it. And we want it. We want to keep it. Okay. Do I have any other points about poetry? No, I don't. I just read poems, listen to my videos, and my videos are really teaching people poetry, I think. It is because I'm learning poetry as I go along. Like I say, like I wrote a lot of poetry, and I have a lot of songs and a lot of comics that are coming up. So I think my poetry now is better than it was before. But it was always like creative, as far as like I like nursery rhymes, like, and it is writing. So, but I'm getting better with the beauty of the words. Okay. Even my Punker Polonius rhyme is more, it's like a nursery rhyme, kind of dirty limerick kind of I guess, like as far as its like feeling and logic goes. Uh, yeah, but it's a longer form, and anyway, I'm gonna end off with my silly poem, and I'm gonna say, like I aspire to greatness, but I think my greatness might be in just like drawing and imagining stuff, and I'm not gonna fool myself that I'm a wizard with words. But I'm gonna learn, and I have raw creativity. So as it is right now, some of my poems are like sort of sound like dirty limericks, maybe. No, I don't get too dirty, but anyway, this is about as crass as I think I'm getting. Like this is pretty crass, but I don't know. I was washing dishes. Um, Punker Polonius was known for impoliteness. When passing pretty girls, that's to all that he would pass. Passing gas, to me, has such irresistible charm. If I find a pretty girl, I'll take her by the arm, put my arms around her, and then burp into her face.